John, when Rudy Gobert popped off after a really bad loss to the Clippers, it felt like that might be the rare time during this regime when you had a real problem to deal with. And then they show up their next game and it's all happy time. I mean, they play brilliantly offensively and they blow out a team they should blow out. Everybody's slapping five. I mean, it almost feels like that is the essence of this team. Is it, people on the outside are going to panic and they're just going to kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we'll see, Jim. Honestly, I want to see how this kind of plays out, not just with the last game before the All-Star break, but what they come back. But it was a perfect example of the moodiness of this team. I just have seen a volatility and emotion with this group that I think is kind of unique. I mean, every team goes through their ups and downs. Every team kind of can get irritable sometimes or just be completely flying high at other times. This group seems to take that to an extreme. And so, you had Rudy kind of pop off, and then they kind of laid another egg against the Clippers, and then they come back and play the Hawks, and the Hawks are missing a bunch of guys, and you're saying, oh, no, this is not going to be good because this is the kind of team that always gives the Wolves problems. And then they went out and played really well. So I just think that right now, with the season where it's at, these guys are kind of strung out a little bit, and the break can't get here soon enough. But they really needed to have a nice, easy, breezy victory like they had against the Hawks to just at least get the vibes going back their way a little bit.
He's Jon Krawczynski, and this is the Jon Krawczynski Show. This is part of TalkNorth.com. John, of course, writes for The Athletic and works for TalkNorth.com. He also contributes to the Viking Update Show. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com, and we appreciate you joining us. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio, and we're presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. We'll tell you more about our sponsors later. We do appreciate the sponsors who make all this possible. And of course, all the listeners and viewers who make this all possible. This show is also available on YouTube. So when Rudy did pop off, how serious did you think it was? And how pointed did you think his comments were?
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting kind of fork in the road moment with the season. I do think that it is easy within a long season to do one of two things. One is you can say, every game is incredibly important and you kind of follow it like an NFL season. And I think that's faulty. I don't think you should do that because there are just going to be bad games here and there or great games here and there. And so kind of remaining even keeled is important. But then there's also the other side of it where you can say, none of this matters. It's okay. Like, no big deal. It's a long season. Whatever happens, happens. And let's just get to the playoffs. And I thought that incident was much closer to, this is something to worry about here, because you had one of the proud veterans of the team essentially pointing the finger at both Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle to get moving and really pleading with Chris Finch to make some kind of heavy-handed changes if this was going to stay. And he did it, unfortunately, right after a game when Zion Williamson just took it to him. And so it was very much a needed message, I think, that this group had to hear, but an imperfect messenger in that moment. And so you wondered about how all of that was going to sit within the group and within the locker room. And then they come out the next game and play even worse against the Clippers. And all of a sudden you're looking at this and saying, okay, there are real problems and real issues here that the Timberwolves have to address. And so I do think that what Rudy Gobert said was absolutely accurate, that, hey, if we want to get where we want to go, our best players have to give more defensive effort. But I think that airing it as publicly and frontally as he did after a game in which he did not play well really didn't sit well with some people within the team as well. And Chris Finch addressed it the next day and made it clear that he didn't like that he did that either. And so right now, the team feels like it is pretty disconnected. And so how they go about getting everyone back on the same page is going to be the thing that tells the story on what happens this season coming out of the All-Star break. I think these guys need a break from each other. I think that they just need to get away, relax, kind of, go to some place warm and sunny and chill out for a little bit. And then maybe that'll be enough to get them back, kind of in the right frame of mind when they come back to start the final 26 games of the season. But it just feels like a group that is kind of on each other's nerves right now, and that a little time away will probably do a lot of good.
Some of the aspects I found fascinating of Rudy popping off when he did and how he did. Number one, Finch has been in his corner, throughout his time here. And obviously Tim Connolly traded for him, but they wouldn't have traded for him if Finch didn't feel like he could work with him. Finch has worked with him. Finch has been his biggest supporter. So I thought it was really interesting that he'd fire at Finch in that way. And Anthony Edwards has kind of been rising in the theoretical MVP rankings. And here's his teammate saying he doesn't play any defense. I thought that was fascinating as well. And then you have Julius Randle, who has kind of dedicated himself to finding ways to get the ball to Gobert in the post, and this team has gotten very good at getting the ball to Gobert in the post. Last year, he was not very effective offensively. So I thought his choice of targets was really fascinating.
Yeah, it was. And I think that there's something admirable about Rudy, kind of being willing to say the things that need to be said and to target the most important players on the team. I mean, I think that there is a tendency in most teams that if the superstar is not playing well, they are held to a little bit different standard. And some coaches and some teammates and stuff are afraid to criticize some of the bigger names on rosters because you can worry about alienating them. You can worry about ticking them off and get them in the wrong frame of mind. I think where Rudy has a leg to stand on, or two, really, is that no matter what he is doing on the court, offensively or defensively, whether it's really good or really whether it's poor, you can very, very rarely question Rudy Gobert's effort. Like, he is generally speaking putting in the requisite effort, playing his butt off, trying to do the right things. There are going to be times where he's missing layups, where he's, even when Zion was taking it to him in that Pelicans game, Rudy was trying to make things happen. It wasn't that he was being lazy. It just was that he was in the wrong spots and wasn't very effective against a great player when he is healthy. So for him to say, look, guys, I'm giving you everything I've got, I need you to do the same, that's valid. Really, a criticism that should be sort of taken to heart. And the other part of it is that Anthony Edwards has said it several times this season. He's like, I know that for us to be a great team, I've got to play on the defensive end. And yet that sort of attention to detail on that end can wax and wane, especially against teams that are not very good, that are down the standings, and that do not require or demand his immediate respect. I think that's where he struggles. I think Julius Randle right now has been working through a bit of doldrums from the trade deadline and from having his name thrown in the Giannis stuff all over the place. And I also think that he's playing through some injuries right now that are slowing him down. And so that's important context. But, all of these things happen, and Rudy Gobert is generally right about what he was diagnosing as the issue. I think that Chris Finch took exception to it because he would much rather those conversations be had in private and air that out and go at each other in a film session or do those things rather than do it publicly. And clearly Rudy himself thought, hey, we've had enough of these sessions where Finch yells at us. We've had enough of these, kind of things where, it demands our own personal accountability, and it hasn't worked. And so I'm going to try another way. And we'll see over the long haul how that landed. I don't think my read on it is that it wasn't like Ant and Julius heard that and said, "Oh man, I really got to dive in and dig in." Yeah, I think there was just kind of it went in one ear and out the other, maybe a little bit. But that said, Julius was really, really good against Atlanta. The best he's been in a couple of weeks, and played really good defense. Got the ball to Rudy a lot, so there was no signs of discord that way. So maybe it did hit home for them. But yeah, you could feel though in that moment as he was delivering it, and then especially the next day as Finch was kind of letting him have it about it, that the feeling around Rudy Gobert was that wasn't the right way to kind of deliver that message.
How do you think Finch handled things behind the scenes in the aftermath? And how does the hierarchy deal with this kind of a problem? Does Connolly just let Finch alone? Does Connolly insert himself? Do A-Rod and Laurie have any conversations or concerns or try to insert themselves? How does it all work behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think first of all, I do think like Tim Conley is very sort of upfront with the players and visible with the players and coaches and conversations he has. I don't think that he felt compelled to like step in and do anything this time around, but I do think he just had conversations with guys like he normally does. So he will send text messages to players. He will grab them at practice or shoot around. He will, kind of just have little conversations here and there, and they're usually pretty frank and straightforward. He doesn't beat around the bush at all. And so I think that, there were some of those conversations. I do think that Chris Finch had a conversation with Rudy Gobert, like, separately about all of that. He said that he addressed it. And I do think, then the final component of that was Chris Finch coming out on Saturday after practice and kind of rapping Rudy's knuckles about it. And I will say, I didn't really love his answer, Jim, about that, because Rudy said, "Hey, look, if these guys aren't going to play defense, the coach has to bench them." And part of the context of that is that on last Monday in Memphis, when they were playing really poorly, and having trouble defensively, Rudy Gobert got essentially benched for the final, I don't know, was it 10 minutes of the fourth quarter. Rudy Gobert has been taken out of games in the fourth quarter when the defense isn't going well, if he's a part of the issue. And I think that he wants the same standard applied to Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards and others. And Chris Finch said, on Saturday, we're not going to substitute our way out of these problems. And I thought that was dismissive of what Rudy Gobert was saying. And I understand Chris Finch's logic in it, because he's saying, look, guys, if we're going to go deep into the playoffs, if we're going to get one final step that we haven't gotten yet, it's not going to be because I take Julius Randle out and put Johan Berenger in, or I take Anthony Edwards out and put Jalen Clark in. It's going to be because Julius and Ant figure this out and are locked in consistently on the defensive end. And so we have to keep pushing them through these times and get them to kind of have it click, in their minds, in their bodies, for everything that's going to take for us to be great at this and have a chance to go as far as we can. I get that part of it. It makes a lot of sense. That said, I think within a long 82-game season, every once in a while, if you're not getting what you need, maybe trying somebody else and trying to send a message is a way to go about it. Julius is very finicky, and so there could be concerns about, hey, you bench him, you lose him. Or Ant could be very prideful. You bench him, and man, now you got to deal with the aftermath of that. So there are all sorts of real world human things that Chris Finch is thinking about, and how each player likes to be coached and how they respond to it, that he's got to think about. But just, kind of a bit of a flippant, well, we're not going to substitute our way out of this, is probably not the way that you want to message that, especially in the middle of a difficult stretch where a lot of fans are questioning his kind of job performance as well as the players.
And what about Lorian Rodriguez? Do they stay
Oh
out of
yeah,
his stuff?
yeah, they are not meddling owners. Mark Lowry is, not around right now. He's kind of like, he's engaged. He understands what's going on, but he's not a regular presence around the team. Alex Rodriguez has been around the team these last few games, and I do think like he's having conversations with coaches. He's having little interactions with players, but I think that as a former player, A-Rod is kind of really sort of cognizant of, not wanting to be viewed in that locker room as an owner who is jumping into the mix. Like, he wants to let coaches, executives, and players figure this out. And if he can help kind of bring some sort of, perspective to things, I think he might step in here and there and just as little informal sort of casual conversations. But I think honestly, Jim, that maybe something like a role that Alex Rodriguez can play is one of, hey guys, everyone needs to relax a little bit. Like, I think he can see the bigger picture of how a team operates and navigates through a really long season and goes through the ups and downs. And I think he can remain, confident in where they're going and the vision that they have, and maybe kind of let people know that, hey, it's going to be all right. Just stick with this, because right now, the Hawks game notwithstanding, this has been a team that feels like it really is holding the steering wheel tight. And there is just a kind of a morose feeling around the team, coaches, players, and everything right now. And I think that, ownership could be like, guys, just take it easy, take a deep breath. We're going to be fine. We'll get through it. I'll try to help wherever I can. But it's never, for them, they are very much more, we are here to support. We're here to observe. You guys are in the gutter doing the real work. And so just keep doing what you're doing.
The Jon Krawczynski Show is brought to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. The new year's here. While you're promising to hit the gym, drink more water, and limit screen time, your home has its own resolutions, like tackling the broken water heater, leaky faucets, and sketchy wiring. Don't let your year start with repair chaos. Have Aquarius do the fix in 2026 and get $98 off any repair. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
And the Jon Krawczynski Show is presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
We also want to thank TSR Injury Law, one of our first sponsors, Steve Terry and the gang over there. If you want a higher level of representation, if you want to get to know the people who get to do all the cool commercials, actually that's too light. The reality is, if you call them, you're going to need some serious help, and they will give you serious help. Call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. They're the best in the business. That's why they are such a great Minnesota success story. That's why they've gotten to a point where they can go hang out with the Wolves and do commercials. So 612-TSR-TIME is all you need to remember. What seed do you think this team should end with? What seed should be the goal for this team, realistically?
I really think, Jim, that a top 4 seed should be the goal. They are, I think, as we stand, recording this on Tuesday morning, I believe they're 1.5 games behind the 3 seed. So, and Denver has some injuries that they are navigating. And so that is attainable for them to go after. The way that the Wolves are playing right now doesn't inspire a lot of confidence that they are going to go on a run, but we have seen them so often over the last few years really come out of the All-Star break firing and feeling and putting together big stretches of winning streaks, getting everything together and going for it. And so I think that is a realistic goal for them once they come out of the break, is get into the top 4 so you have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. The Thunder and the Spurs seem to be getting a little bit of separation in the top 2, but the race with Denver, Houston, the Lakers, like that's all airtight right now. And I think that the Wolves have the best team of all those teams except for Denver. And Denver is just so banged up that I just think they're a little bit vulnerable right now. And so, yeah, that's what I would be targeting coming out of the All-Star break, is put together some wins, get up into that top 4 so you're hosting game 1 of a first-round series, and you're not trying to come in the back door like the way they had to do last year as the 6th seed.
Let's get to the fight. Everybody loves talking about fights. That was one of the most intense NBA fights I've ever seen, where you didn't actually have a punch thrown.
Yeah. So, it was interesting. Tuesday night was so kind of crazy in the NBA because, Naz Reid tangles with Moge, and Naz Reid was really upset and grabs his jersey, and they're kind of pushing and shoving and stuff. And we're watching this unfold, and we're saying, yeah, that's not really that big of a deal, because we just saw on Twitter about 30 minutes earlier that the Pistons and Hornets were having a real fight, like a real, guys coming off the bench and jumping into the things, and it's almost spilling into the stands, and something was in the air last night, Jim, in the league, that there was just a lot of animosity and electricity because, Nas, we had talked to him after the game just a little bit, and he felt like he was kind of pushed and grabbed and shoved by Gay earlier, and he took exception to that, and then just kind of lost his temper and got after it. But then he gets ejected, Gay gets ejected, but then you're like, that wasn't even a big deal, because I just saw a freaking brawl in Charlotte between 2 young and volatile teams that really kind of just put it all in perspective. But it's going to be really interesting to see how the league comes down on that end, Jim, because Isaiah Stewart comes off the bench. He's got a history. I mean, he could get 10 or more games of suspension because of that. And a few of their other guys, Duran and Miles Bridges and Diabate and all, they're all going to get whacked pretty good, I think, because that, there are pushing matches and there are shoving matches and there are like not nothing real big going on. And then there's that one. And that was a throwdown for sure.
Has Nas been in a fight before?
Yeah, a couple of times. He's tangled with a few guys over the years. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think he was in sort of the mix with Ron Holland in Detroit last year. Yes, he was. But then Dante DiVincenzo is the one who kind of jumped in and really stepped it off. He's had a few other times where he goes toe to toe and nose to nose with somebody and maybe pushes and shoves. But in general, yeah, it's not like something that's regular with Nas. It's not something that he is always involved with. But I think there was just, he's going through his own frustrations the last couple of games. And so there's just a lot of feelings that are kind of emanating in this group, and they're showing up in different ways, whether it's Rudy Gobert, kind of going at his teammates, whether it's Julius Randle and Ant kind of being, a little bit slow footed on defense, or whether it's Nas just like mixing it up with someone. Like, they're all processing their feelings in different ways. You need a psychologist to kind of dissect all of the things going through these guys' heads.
They don't need psychologists when they have amateur psychologists like us.
That's right.
On call 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we're here for,
Yes.
And like, low key though, I do think that Mike Conley is missed in that department right now. He's going to be coming back in a couple, in a week or two. He will be back in that locker room. Maybe they don't need him as much on the court, but they kind of need him in the locker room to be the soothsayer, and no one is being soothed right now in that locker room, and they could use Mike back for that for sure.
So Shannon, it sounds like, is going to go to the G League. A couple of weeks away, probably post All-Star break. What do you think?
Yeah, so he went down to Iowa. I think that they basically want to see how he does this week down there. And then the plan is to come out of the All-Star break with another reevaluation. So it does feel like he's getting closer to coming back. It will be very interesting to see what a role would look like for him now that Ayo Dosunmu is here, and he played really, really well against Atlanta. And so I don't know how many minutes are available, but it would be nice to have some more depth on the wing there and another option should you need it. The question I have will be, once he comes back, is he going to be back for good? Because he was hurt at the start of the year. He tried to play through it, did not work, went back on kind of the shelf for a while, and now he's going to come back and try it again and see if that is good enough for him to play, and we'll just have to see. I'm not sure. It seems like the Wolves are confident that now they've got things under control with that foot and that he'll be able to just come back and jump into the mix, but I want to see it first, and I'm not sure that we'll see him playing a ton of minutes to really be able to test that thing out.
Let's talk about the coaching staff, kind of who does what and who's most important in terms of supporting Finch and working with these players. We do want to hear more about True Vision Institute, though.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. If you are in the market for vision correction, I cannot recommend these guys enough. You go to truevision.com and set up your consultation, and they will take care of you from beginning to end. For me, I went in there now a year and a half ago and was interested in LASIK, but not exactly sure if that was the right thing for me. They put me through just an incredible amount of tests. They were very, very kind of helpful and educational in the whole process and what all of my options were. And we did settle on LASIK surgery being the right thing for me. It's been the best thing I've ever done for myself personally, just to make my life easier. No more glasses and contacts, no more kind of the hassles of getting a new prescription, of ordering the new contacts to replenish. Like, everything is so much easier now that I've had LASIK surgery with True Vision. So go to truevision.com, set up your consultation, tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you, and get in there and start living your life the way it should be lived without the hassle of glasses and contacts. truevision.com.
We'd also like to thank Royal Credit Union.
At Royal Credit Union, we believe in banking with purpose. That's why we're here for you and your community with people-first service, local support, and all the accounts and loans you need to help reach your financial goals. As a not-for-profit cooperative, everything we do benefits the people and communities we serve, because Royal isn't just where you bank, it's where you belong. Experience the Royal Credit Union difference and learn more at rcu.org/royal support. Insured by NCUA. Loans subject to credit approval. Equal credit opportunity.
Now, John, tell us what's happening with sglambchops.com.
Yeah, if you go to sglambchops.com, use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get there. They are just well stocked right now with everything that you'd be looking for in casual wear: hoodies, sweatpants, pants, t-shirts, sweaters, hats. It's all incredibly high quality stuff. It's all really stylish. You can wear it at Target Center. You can wear it in the North Loop on a Friday night, and you can wear it so comfortably that you can just be lounging around, watching a movie, watching a Wolves game at home. So you go to sglambchops.com, get whatever you need there. They will have you all set up. You will be looking good and you'll be feeling good with Lamb Chops. At the end of this show, we will answer a Twitter question and for a chance at a free giveaway. And that's what these guys do. They're involved in the community. They want to give back to Timberwolves fans, to basketball fans. So go to sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get at Lamb Chops.
Before we get to the coaching staff, Finch did keep his starters in with pretty much a 20-point lead through the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game on Monday night. Was that a message? What do you read into that?
I was a little bit surprised about it in the moment, Jim, but I do think that it's a recognition that this team is really kind of trying to slay some demons right now and figure some things out. And they had led by 31 in the third quarter, and it had kind of just been whittled down to right around 19, 17 points for much of the fourth. And I just don't think that Chris Finch feels really confident right now. in the way that this group is playing. And so he stuck with them longer than probably most would. But it is a sign, I do believe, that he's trying to get these guys to find some sort of connectivity and to build some chemistry and get some good vibes and good feelings going. And if he's got to push it a little bit longer, I think that's just what he feels is necessary right now to get this group out of the doldrums that they're in.
Finch made a point of praising Pablo Prigioni and the way he constructed the offense, the way he encouraged the guys. That very interesting tack, instead of getting on them about the negative, saying, hey, this is how good we can be, and look at how good we have been in the past. Break down who does what on the coaching staff and who's kind of most central to what Finch is trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of the cool thing about this staff, Jim, is that they've been together now for a very long time. And so they have both defined roles, but the lines are also very blurred. I mean, this is a group that kind of all Finch does delegate responsibility and authority to everyone. He is not one of these kind of dictator rulers of the staff where he does kind of all of the important stuff and then everyone else is sort of just kind of errand boys for him. So Pablo Prigioni is the offensive coordinator. He kind of also serves as a bit of a barometer, I think, for Finch on what the team needs messaging wise, whether they do need to be kind of have their butts chewed or whether they do need like a pat on the back. And I think that Pablo's very smartly understood that over the last couple of days that it's time to sort of back off of the browbeating and really just kind of emphasize and accentuate some positives for them, because everyone is feeling it right now and everyone is tired and everyone is irritable. So if you yell at them again and again, you risk them just completely tuning you out. And so Pablo put together kind of a clip of plays to show the team yesterday that just showed, hey, look at what we've done here this season. We have shown we are capable of being really, really good and of working together and of accomplishing what we want to accomplish. And I do think that sort of touch is needed right now for this team and for this staff. I think the staff is grinding really, really hard and maybe a little bit kind of on the negative side as well. So Pablo does that. Elson Turner is the defensive coordinator, and he is sort of the sage veteran of this group and the kind of the guy that people look to get sort of a feel for, hey, this is what we have to do, and this is what I've done over decades in this league to carve out a career, first as a player and then as a coach, and then to kind of demand excellence from you. And Elston is revered for the voice that he uses kind of with the players, with, kind of in the game plan and just kind of setting expectations. Micah Nori is the right-hand man and is sort of the guy who really helps Finch with rotations, with who needs to be playing when, with how they kind of adjust in game to the ups and downs of what's working and what's not. Kevin Hansen is the big man coach, and works with the bigs and he's been integral really in helping Johan Berenger get up to speed, and really kind of get ready to contribute. Right now, James White is another guy who it kind of works directly closely with Dante DiVincenzo and Jaden McDaniels and is really, from what I understand, very good with players in terms of the mental side of navigating a long season and dealing with all the pressures and all the frustrations and the good and the bad of it, and helping guys kind of stay at least a little bit closer to even keeled than they would otherwise. I'm trying to think of who else we have. It's a big staff. Jeff Newton is their replay kind of advisor and has been great in that role. In terms of like when do you review plays, when do you challenge plays, and they've been really successful on that end of things. Nathan Bubis is kind of another sort of like one of Finch's conciliaries, and a kind of data driven analyst and helps with the day-to-day kind of spotting trends and what's working and what's not. Just it's just a big staff with a lot of different voices. Chris Hines is in there, Max is in there, like a bunch of guys that just are like all really kind of sharing in this. And I do like that they have been together so long that I think they can have real conversations with each other in ways that other staffs that are newer don't. And so there's just great familiarity with them that helps this team really kind of navigate long seasons.
Does this last week reflect poorly on Anthony Edwards as a leader, or is it just the reality is still just a really young guy trying to figure stuff out?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say reflect poorly, but I do think that he is still trying to understand the way to identify what buttons need to be pushed and how to push them. It starts with him, to be honest. Like, he's been so good all season long, especially offensively. I mean, in that fourth quarter of the Raptors win, I mean, he was as close to Superman as you're ever going to see. And so he's been just, the kind of guy who has had an unbelievable season for them and deserves all the praise that he's getting. As he ascends to this MVP conversation, the next part of his development is understanding how to get everyone to follow him all the way. And the first way that you make them follow you is to have consistency through no matter who the opponent is, no matter what night it is, no matter how many games you've played, 4 and 5 nights or whatever, to keep giving all of that consistent effort. And when that doesn't happen, it makes it a little bit harder to hold guys accountable himself. And so the thing with Ant is he understands that. He knows when he messes up, and he's the first person to say when he has to be better. But now it's about not just saying it and recognizing it, it's going out and doing it, and then it's being able to identify with each different teammate, okay, what does Julius Randle need from me right now? What does Rudy Gobert need from me right now? What does Jaden McDaniels need from me right now? How do I help these guys figure things out and snap out of whatever funks that they're in? And that is a big and complicated issue or role. And I think he's still trying to figure that out at 24 years old. I'm not surprised that he doesn't have that mastered just yet.
There's an old joke in our business that I heard a lot when I was coming up through the business, and that was, hey, don't make that too good. They're going to expect it all the time. And I think Ant's problem is he has games and moments where he just smothers somebody defensively.
Yes.
Where he is a 94-foot threat. He made a nice play, stealing a backcourt pass last night. When he's good defensively, he's phenomenal defensively, which makes it hard to watch him not be that way.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse for him with all of the talent that he does have. Is we have seen those stretches of two-way play where he is the best player in the league. And in fairness to him, it is hard to sustain that for 75 games or however many he's going to end up playing this season. But like, I do think that there is a way to maybe for him to pick his spots a little bit better. It doesn't mean that he has to be first team all defense and first team all NBA every single night. It doesn't mean that he has to be overwhelming on both ends of the court every single night. But I do think he needs to sense the moments within games when it's slipping away. And okay, it's time for me to really just dive in here and just take this game over for a stretch and be able to do that on the defensive end as well. And so I think he's still learning that. I think he's, I think he's figuring it out. And I also do think that he, like many players in that locker room, takes the regular season for granted a little bit right now. After 2 straight Western Conference Finals runs, they are waiting for the lights to come on in the playoffs, and that can be dangerous. And he will have to learn from that if there is more slippage that way. But I just think that's a reality of what he is seeing, what Julius Randle sees, what Jaden McDaniels sees sometimes as well, is that they're bored a little bit right now, and that leads to disjointedness, and that leads to laziness, and that leads to bad losses like we have seen. And so maybe that this week break will be good for them to recharge, and then they'll come out and look at it and say, holy cow, the playoffs are in 26 games. Like, it's time to go. And maybe they'll be able to put their foot on the gas that way.
Let's get to our social media question of the week, sponsored by sglambchops.com. What do you got, John?
Yeah, so Henry Weinberg asks, couldn't watch a lot last night, had a lot of stuff going on, looked at the box scores this morning and noticed that Io played 30 minutes to Naz's 21. I know we are deeper forward-wise and lesser in the guard field, but do you expect this to be a trend of Io getting more minutes? And it's a really good question. Io was terrific in the game against the Hawks. The thing that jumped out and just leaped off of the court, and if you're watching at home off the screen, is how dang fast he is in transition. I mean, he goes, and he is shot out of a cannon, and I think that's really good. It's opened things up for Jaden McDaniels, who's a really good transition player. So I think he's going to be a really big help. I do think that the minutes are going to fluctuate here. With, there are going to be nights where Io gets 22 minutes and Naz gets 31, or Dante had 25 minutes in the game against Atlanta, and Io had 30, and that's going to flip every once in a while. And so there's so much versatility now with Dosunmu and with Naz and with Dante DiVincenzo and with Bones even, that I do think Chris Finch is going to have to try to read sort of the tea leaves every game. Who has it going here? Who do I kind of ride with down the stretch versus, I don't think it's going to be a set rotation where we always start the fourth quarter with this group and finish the fourth quarter with this group, and that's just the way it is. I think there's going to be mixing and matching going on, and Io's going to be a big part of that. The shooting, the aggressiveness, the defense, like that was a really good and cool introduction to him against Atlanta, and really fitting because he was playing against Nickeil Alexander-Walker, whose shoes he's trying to fill right now. So just kind of a cool thing to watch last night. All the love that Nickeil was getting, and then also this new recognition from the fans that, hey, this new guy that they just got, he can really go, and that's exciting too.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that a player comes in and you're just at the level of athletic ability in the NBA is just astonishing. And to have somebody just look like he's 30% faster than everybody else on the court was stunning.
Yeah, it was like it was noticeable. And it was fun to watch some of the other Wolves adjust to that, because they just are not a team that has pushed the ball in transition much. They don't do it that often. But now with Bones and Io out there together, like, that's exciting. They get the ball and they are taking off toward the other rim immediately. And now Jaden is running with them, and that just brings a different dimension to what they're doing, and it brings more energy to a group that needs energy right now, that seems stuck in the mud. So I think it's going to be really effective for them down the stretch. I think that, he's the perfect guy for Tim Connolly to have targeted in the trade market and go get him. And I think he's gonna make a big difference in a lot of areas for them, down the stretch here.
No doubt. Good stuff. Thank you, John. Thanks to our producer, Davide. Thanks to everyone who listens. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We appreciate everything. We will be talking to you again next week. Please check out John also on the Viking Update Show, which sometimes includes his colleague, Alec Lewis.